I'm delighted to participate virtually in my fourth consecutive Raisina dialogue, and I regret that I am unable to attend in person this time. I thank the Observer Research Foundation and the Indian Ministry of External Affairs for the opportunity to address this 2022 dialogue. It's a timely opportunity to reflect on the growth and development of Australian-Indian cooperation and coordination in the Pacific. One of the most important outcomes from my perspective since being appointed as Australia's Minister for Foreign Affairs in August of 2018 has been the advances in the ties between India and Australia. The list of our substantive engagements and respective commitments to this relationship would have been difficult to envisage just a few years ago. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, my dear friend, Minister of External Affairs, Dr. Jaishankar, and I have participated in the inaugural Australia-India 2+2 of Foreign and Defence Ministers in New Delhi last September, in the Australia-India Foreign Ministers Framework Dialogue, and I welcomed Minister Jaishankar to the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting in Melbourne just a couple of months ago. Our two countries have also held the second Leaders' Summit between Prime Ministers Modi and Morrison, and we are now committed to annual leaders' meetings. We signed the Australia-India Economic Cooperation Trade Agreement and committed to conclude a full comprehensive economic cooperation agreement by the end of this year. We welcomed Minister Goyal, India's Minister for Commerce, to Australia as well earlier this month. Our cooperation was elevated in June of 2020 at the first virtual leaders summit between Prime Ministers Modi and Morrison, where we announced our comprehensive strategic partnership. And we launched a range of ambitious initiatives. Under this CSP, Australia and India have signed a series of high-impact practical agreements to advance strategic and economic cooperation across a range of areas, ensuring that our countries can have a positive, practical impact on the Indo-Pacific and beyond. These cover defence and maritime security, cyber and critical technology, critical minerals, education and tourism, to name a few. Since the CSP was signed, we have further expanded our engagement with an additional package of new initiatives totalling over $280 million to boost our clean technology, space, science and innovation, community and economic partnerships. Many of these initiatives are outlined in the Australian government's update to the India Economic Strategy, which my colleague Minister Payne launched in March of this year. The package includes flagship initiatives to establish a new Centre for Australia-India relations and a new Centre of Excellence for new and emerging critical technology policy, the first of its kind globally. We're also expanding our diplomatic presence in India to 5 diplomatic missions, opening a new consulate general in Bangalore. These measures are all underpinned by the deep ties between our two peoples and recognising the role that Australia's rich Indian diaspora community plays. The strategic convergence between Australia and India is not an accident. We live in an era of accelerated change, shifting global power dynamics and intense strategic competition in our own region, the Indo-Pacific. Australia is clear-eyed about the growing challenges in our region, and the actions that we have taken demonstrate that we will use our agency and influence to be a force for good. We're committed to being a partner of choice for many other countries who share our outlook, are committed to building resilience, and we're providing practical alternative choices for countries across the Indo-Pacific. In that spirit, the strategic elevation of ties between India and Australia is underpinned by our vision for a region where the rights of all sovereign states are respected, regardless of size, where disputes are managed peacefully, legally, and without coercion, and where open markets facilitate the flow of free trade, greater investment, and stronger people-to-people ties. The order that has supported peace and prosperity over decades is being challenged. Safeguarding this order is something Prime Minister Modi has called a sacred duty. As Prime Minister Morrison has said, this will only be achieved by widening and reinforcing our like-minded webs of alignment. Australia and India are Indo-Pacific nations and are stewards of one of the world's greatest maritime resources, the Indian Ocean. Our geography places us squarely in the middle of the world's strategic centre of gravity. As the international system becomes more multipolar, the region's resilience is being tested. Current events in Europe serve to remind us of the profound strategic challenges and disruption the world is facing. There's no doubt the implications of Russia's unprovoked and illegal invasion of Ukraine will have longer-term reverberations globally and in our region for some time. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has clear implications for the Indo-Pacific. It is a direct challenge to the international rules-based order which underpins security and prosperity in our region. Higher oil prices are impacting adversely on growth prospects, and chokes in the supply chain are becoming more acute. Shortages of fertiliser and other inputs will impact agricultural production and food security. Maintaining a credible international response is important to our Indo-Pacific interests. By collectively imposing economic and reputational costs, we aim to deter behaviour that violates international law and sovereignty. Australia will continue to be clear to all partners and in all forums that we unequivocally condemn civilian deaths and the devastating humanitarian crisis in Ukraine caused by Russia's invasion. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic will also continue to have medium to long-term implications across our region and beyond. The pandemic has increased conduct that is of grave concern to Australia, including protectionism, economic coercion, territorial disputes, disinformation, and cyber attacks. Grey zone tactics continue to be used in an attempt to change the status quo and push forward expansionist territorial aims. The South China Sea is a notable example. Australia is continuing to advance a proactive agenda to support this Indo-Pacific vision. We're strongly investing in relationships to pursue common interests, underpinned by relationships of our Pacific family, the US alliance, our special strategic partnership with Japan, and our comprehensive strategic partnerships with ASEAN, with India, as I have said, with the Republic of Korea and Malaysia, amongst others. We are also reinforcing both existing and growing new partnerships, such as within the Five Eyes, the Quad, and AUKUS. India is a partner that we see as front and centre in reinforcing the type of region we all want to see. India is now emerging from the COVID-19 crisis with predicted growth rates of 9% this year, making it the fastest growing large economy. Through the level of participation and interaction at the Raisina dialogue and the number of high-level visitors that New Delhi has hosted in recent months, New Delhi is truly a global capital. This conference again will demonstrate, India's influence matters. I wish you all the best for what will no doubt be a productive Raisina Dialogue 2022. Thank you.